Do you believe in magic? I mean, it's a harmless fantasy and ever so entertaining. It can't be that bad if it's in children's cartoons and even in the educational system, is it? Well, certainly Hollywood wouldn't be sharing evil to the world, would it? What is the definition of magic? What does it mean? It's the science and art of causing a change to occur in conformity to one's will. Hmm. Sounds a little bit like manipulation to me, but I'll let you be the judge. When someone is practicing magic, they're practicing spells, there's trances, chanting involved, the sacrifice of something that's alive. The sacrifice of something that's alive. There's an initiator, and there's also an innocent bystander that's just kind of learning indirectly. So when we're discussing magic and what it involves, when we're looking at our cartoons, it's going to involve these things. But let's go on ahead and continue to dive deeper within it. The term magic is just a nickname for what its real origin is. So you're probably asking yourself, well, what is the real origin? Magic is derived from Satanism, sorcery, witchcraft, the occult, and it's also a good representation and a nice little bunny trail to the kingdom of darkness, also known as magic is involving the spiritual mafia in a really, really, really bad way. There are different types of magic, but I'm going to explain to you 6 of them that we come in contact with when we're allowing our children to watch these cartoons. The first one is called Arcane. Arcane magic. And this is involving the warping and the manipulation of time, space, and it also controls power or pressure. For example, water or the pressure of fire. Number 2 is there's fell magic. Fell magic is very destructive and it's used by demons to create division and chaos. The third one is black magic, which is a really, really popular one. And black magic is something that's used by devils and evil spirits, and also people that are trying to summon these devils and evil spirits. The fourth one is white magic, which is supposedly used for good purposes, which we'll talk about later. And then the 5th one, we have practical magic. And that basically is just manipulating everyday, ordinary affairs. A lot of times in movies, it's deemed as something that's comical, or they have a little bit of humor to kind of purposely make somebody fall, or to innocently scare somebody by using like this practical magic. But there's nothing humorous or funny about it. The last one is referred to as Enochian magic. And this is used a lot in Disney cartoons. For example, The Little Mermaid. With the Enochian magic, there's ceremonial, it's a ceremony that summons spirits, commanding spirits. So what it is it's like an initiation. It's a celebration for spirits to all come together and to wreak havoc. With all that being said, would you feed your children cyanide, arsenic, or even rat poison? I didn't think so. So just like you wouldn't feed your children these dangerous chemicals, feeding them and allowing their minds to eat the production of these cartoons and of these movies is pretty much the same thing. You see, there's this thing I know that you're familiar with called subconscious programming. And with the young mind, and also with your mind as well, is you're subconsciously programming your mind to get used to magic and to deem it as something that is innocent. These movies have the same plot. And yes, I have seen some of them myself. Even with the preview, there's a new cartoon out, I believe it's called Incarne or Encarta or something like that. It's of a Latin American family that's living in this magical house. But not just this movie, there's other movies, they all have the same plot. So if you pay attention, or if you remember the ones that you did watch, it involves a young person. Either a little boy or a little girl or a young man or a young woman. And then it involves a magical land where there's animals and there's either real creatures or fictitious creatures, but these creatures have some type of magical ability or they're a part of this magical land. And then there's also a situation where the magical land needs to be preserved. Okay. And then there is also a perception of good magic versus bad magic. There is a good or bad struggle that is within these shows, within these movies. there is also a price that needs to be paid for the salvation of this magical place or magical people or a magical land. And usually there's a sacrifice that has to be made. And a lot of times it's the young person. Of course, they glamorize it to be not as bad as it sounds. But when you really think about it, there's always a give and take with magic. You see, if the magic is given to you, that kingdom of darkness that's giving it to you, they want something in return. They definitely want our children. Okay. The next one is there's a satanic diagram in the ritual. If you look closely, there is some type of satanic symbol, diagram. There's some type of ritual that is being depicted. Like when I talked to you about earlier about the different types of magic, those things are always listed within the plots. They're always mentioned in the plots. So I want you to be aware of that. The fat lie. Satan is the father of lies. He likes snatching young minds early for his darkness kingdom, his kingdom of darkness. He wants to grow his kingdom, and he wants to present a situation that to make us believe that we need magic for something, but the cost of the magic always outweighs the actual need for it. And there's always going to be a really, really heavy price that we have to pay that we'll always be paying for. Witchcraft has a mask. Witchcraft has a mask. No, magic and witchcraft is not going to say what it is. It's not going to come out and be transparent and be honest and tell you what really, really is going on. So what does it have to do? It has to adorn itself. It has to make itself look appeasing and attractive. It has to come off as something beautiful and elegant, something to attract us to it, especially of younger people. So what does magic use? It uses bright, illuminating colors. It's very, very beautiful to look upon. The aesthetics of it is just remarkable. Magic that is hidden, it also hides itself behind people we trust. It's in things that we trust, things that we're used to. We are already familiar with it before it even gets to our front door. See, what the kingdom of darkness does is it studies us. It studies us, and it's been studying us for thousands of years. And so it already knows what we like. It already knows what draws us and what attracts us. It also uses singing. We love singing. And a lot of times these chants and things are sang to us in these movies, in these cartoons. And also there's a lot of talking and magical creatures. That's so neat and so inviting for a young child to come across a cute, cuddly, brightly colored creature that can talk. The next one is what these things do is it invites unclean spirits into our minds and into our bodies. Magic needs a body. Do not let it have your children. The spiritual effects is that you act out what you see, whether it's consciously or subconsciously or unconsciously. You're going to act out what you see. It's going to come out. Whatever you put into your mind is going to come out some way, shape, form, or fashion. And when magic is maximized, God is portrayed as non-existent or he's minimized. And as followers of Christ, we want to maximize God and his goodness and his real authentic powers at all times. Also, we don't want to give Satan access to our mind because he knows if he has access to our mind, he has access to our behavior because what we put in has got to come out. And not just in us, but in the people that we come in contact with. Also, we do not want to hide the authentic, enormous, great, wonderful, dynamite, true living power of God. We don't want that shadowed by this foolishness of magic from the spirit and kingdom of darkness. You know what's really, really discouraging about magic? It's a thief and it's a counterfeit. Hollywood uses words that it is described from the Christian faith. So they describe magic as togetherness. They describe it as bringing people together when really those are seances. And yes, there are witches meetings and witches committees, and these people that practice magic actually physically get together and wreak havoc on people. Okay. And also there's this thing that I have seen where if you just have faith and believe, the magic is here. Just believe in magic. I'm sure you've heard that catchphrase. The belief, the faith, the togetherness. It uses real Christian action words to describe something that is so disgusting and satanic and dangerous that It's crazy. Magic is just as addictive as drugs, alcohol, nicotine, and food. On one of the websites that I was visiting, just trying to gain some information, one of the people had posted, one of these magicians had posted something about how addictive magic is, and how they have to go through a series of checks and balances. And so you can't move to the next level in magic unless you've done this, and that. So all you do is just get higher and higher and higher up the totem pole of magical powers. But there's a side effect to that. Okay. It's addictive. And once you've had that power, these people have been described as it being just as powerful as cocaine or meth or heroin. They just have to have it at all times. So it gives you a false sense of identity. It gives you a false sense of value. It gives you a false sense of hope in yourself and power in yourself, where that hope and that power and that trust needs to be in the divine power, the divine appointment that God has given to us. So with the kingdom of darkness having a counterfeit, there's a price that you have to pay. You see, Satan is very, very, very expensive in whatever he gives to us, right? But with God, he gives us things and he gives it freely. Is magic in the Bible? Does God talk about magic? What does he say about magic? I'm so glad you asked. I'm going to share with you from my very phone right now, Deuteronomy chapter 18, verses 10 to 11. And I want you to go on ahead and get you a pen and a notepad and jot this down. Let no one be found among you who sacrifice their son or daughter in the fire. Remember what I told you about the sacrificing. Who practices divination or sorcery, interprets omens, engages in witchcraft or spells, or who is a medium of spirits, or who consults the dead. Anyone who does these things is detestable to the Lord. Because of these same detestable practices, the Lord your God will drive out those nations from before you. So magic is nothing brand new. Magic has been around since the beginning of time, and even in the Old Testament. All right. So I want to give you an opportunity to partner with something greater, partner with something pure, partner with something that is safe. A safe word, practicing something that is safe, not something that is dangerous, is going to take from you. We want to partner with things that are going to give to us, that is going to allow us to grow, not things that are going to make us feel like we're in bondage in a box. Okay. I want you to establish or reestablish a covenant with God. I love that word, covenant. I want you to establish or reestablish a covenant with God. And with this umbrella of protection under the covenant, there's going to be a relationship that you are going to work on, growing your relationship with Christ and partnering with him and allowing him to show you who you are so you can grow. Under this umbrella of covenantry, you're going to find protection. You're going to find a relationship like you've never, ever, ever experienced before. You're going to be exposed to so much knowledge and wisdom and understanding. And not only that, you just don't get this covenant and keep it to yourself. You share it with other people the same way that I'm sharing it with you right now. I want you to accept God as your Lord and personal Savior. I want you to walk in the purpose that God has for you. I want you to set aside everything that is taxing you, everything that is weighing you down, anything that is taunting you or tormenting you. There is nothing greater than the love of God. There is nothing that can separate you from the love of God. Thank you so much for taking the time out to watch this video. I am Nikki the Great, and together we are growing, sharing, and thriving.